done a little over 500 flips. We own about a $15 million portfolio that we've spent a lot of time building because of what I went through with my dad. When my dad died, he was in real estate for a really long time, and he died owning nothing after being in the business 40 years. One of my passions is making sure that real estate agents don't do what my dad did. And I made sure to change that after he died, that I wouldn't allow my family or my legacy to be left in the dirt, because it's one of the things that we're all in this business, right? Our real estate license give us opportunities. There's opportunities every day in our business depending on how you look at it. And some days you're chasing commissions rather than looking at opportunities. And eventually, depending on where you're at, you're going to find your ability to look at everything as an opportunity rather than as a commission check or a transactional piece. Make sense? So, about 6 weeks ago, I heard this guy James Clear on a podcast. The book's called Atomic Habits. Don't just listen to it, read it, study it. I'm not a book guy. I listen to a lot of books, but this is my book for the year. Like, I read it probably 15 minutes a day. I write notes on it. I'm thinking about a lot of things, and one of the big things with this is that I really learned is, especially when we get into real estate, right? How is everybody's time in real estate? Less than a year? All right.
Yeah,
less than 5? All right.
30.
All right. You win. Even over me. I've been 20. We get in and there's a lot of shiny objects in our business, right? Everybody has the golden squirrel that is going to make you $1 million. What a lot of people don't talk about, or they talk about in big ideas, is, time blocking is a big thing you'll hear from a lot of people, right? But what do they do when they tell you time block? Time block 2 hours. You're like, well, that doesn't sound like fun. I don't want a time block to go call people for 2 hours, right? You don't want to do anything in this business that isn't fun, right? So just start thinking about the business that you're wanting to generate. I was recently in a mastermind in California, and Drew Canoli he owns Organifi. It's a $300 million company. And somebody asked him, how did you build your company? And he said, I built it around the day that I wanted, not for future. So he's like, my idea of a work day was 3 hours and it was going to be fun, right? So you start thinking about things. What is fun in this business? What's fun in your life that you can connect with your real estate business? One of my agents, Kyle, he's a big car guy. So I've encouraged him to go have fun in the car industry and make connections and build that habit around being there all the time. Because eventually you're going to meet the right person that wants to do something, and it's not being on the phone, because maybe your strength isn't being on the phone. Mine's not. I freaking hate cold calling. I don't think I've ever done it. I think I made my first cold call a week ago. And I've been doing this 20 years because it's not fun. It's not exciting. It still makes me nervous. Like, I want to throw up. When the lady answers the phone, I'm like, oh, her name's Kim. Okay. The funny thing was it was actually a really good conversation. So, but we start thinking about, Mike said it this morning when I was listening to the tail end of the class, was just, we're looking at so many things and we're not focused on a few, and we're not building the habits for who we want to become in the business. We have these goals or these drivers that's an income driver or whatnot, and all those are outcome-based habits. So I'll share something with you, and this is where this book hit me right beside the head. Last year, the year before, October 20th, I went to my mastermind in California. It's a 3-month stint from the time I leave to the time I go back, and it's 110 days. So I had this goal that I was going to get in the greatest shape of my life. I stopped drinking. I was dead on my food. I was dead on my exercises. I got it done. But everything about those was about the outcome at the end of 110 days, and I fell apart after that. Because I didn't create the habits for who I wanted to become. And so when I start thinking about now, has everybody seen the movie Southpaw with Jake Gyllenhaal? Well, if not, he's going through his comeback in his boxing career, and there's an Eminem song playing in the background, which is one of my favorite people to listen to, and he's going to town, like he's getting his shape, he's doing his jump roping. That's who I'm visualizing in my health right now. And it's the small, he didn't get, and I actually went back. If you want to see an interesting read, go read Jake Gyllenhaal's training regiment for that movie. And here's why it's talking about identity. So Jake Gyllenhaal, when he took on that role, he needed to become a boxer. He needed to be that person. So he had to mentally go in and make the habits to be that person in order to perform for that role. So the same thing that you guys should be looking at is, think about, here's something I'll ask. Everybody in here, give me somebody in the industry that you kind of look up to, or you're like, that would be the person I want to be in however many years, right? Give me a name.
Pace Morby.
Okay. Why Pace?
His kind of business model is, a lot different than most people. It's like a lot of people in the business are what can you do for me type thing, and he's more of a let me just give, and then ultimately at the end of the day it's just going to circle back around.
Yep. So, for those of you who don't know Pace, he's very big in the subject to market, which is taking over people's mortgages. He's a wholesaler, very smart, sharp guy. Follow him on social media. He's got a lot of really good content. Really good guy, really good heart.
Yeah, he is.
Anybody else?
Brandon Tracy.
Okay. He's so cute.
I like how, and I'll tell you what I like. He speaks to people in a way that makes them feel valued.
Yep.
And then he provides value in this way that you're like, what just happened? I literally talked to him and I was like, I really respect him. I would love to have him as a mentor. I read 7 Levels of Communication. I was like, that's what he's doing.
Right.
Now I get it.
Right. So when you think about those things, my identity and who I want to be is looking at somebody like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, about the investment side, about teaching people how not to have that poor dad mentality of, I just work a job when there's other things out there that can be done. And so whenever you look at these identities, you start thinking, okay, well, what do those people do, or where did they start in order to be who they are? Because all those people that we're talking about, it wasn't an overnight success. And some people claim, or see like, oh, they're overnight success. Brandon Tracy was reading leadership books back for, 20 years ago, and he was developing the habits of the leader he wanted to eventually be. And I bet you if you ask Brandon Tracy, he probably has somebody that he modeled after, right? So there's models of, I want to model after, and I don't want to model after. My dad has a great legacy. He was a genius in real estate, and that's what I loved about him, and he was super creative. And I wanted to model that piece of it, but I didn't want to model the other piece of it. So sometimes you're picking and choosing from different people of, well, I like the identity. So like I mentioned Jake Gyllenhaal, that's my identity when I go to the gym in the morning. That's the song I listen to on the way there. That's the mental vision. I've watched that freaking 1-minute segment of that movie over and over again because I want it mentally in my head. And movies are great to go back and get that mental, like this is where I want to go. I think about Will Smith in Pursuit of Happiness. How hard did he have to work? How much time did he have to put in? What were the habits that he created to become that person? So you want to think about that identity in everything in your life. So who do you want to become as a father, as a grandfather, as a sibling, as a child? Like, you see what I mean? There's things there that you want to become, and you can, people go through and they want to create big goals, right? Big goals are awesome to have, but how do you break down big goals? You have to make small changes that make remarkable change in your life in order to accomplish those goals. Because if you don't have the habits, what happens in real estate especially, and we all know what the real estate roller coaster looks like, right? You don't have any business right now, so you're making calls and you're doing open houses and you're doing all these things. Now all of a sudden you have 2 clients, you're showing houses, you're doing paperwork, and you stop doing your habits that brought you those things. So if you don't successfully look at, hey, no matter what, Lizzie Hofer, if you guys don't know who she is, she's the #1 female lender in the United States. She is a rock star. She's a badass. You should follow her content as well. But that girl today still prospects 40 people a day. Doesn't matter that she's running 45 people as a company. It doesn't matter how big she's gotten. You know why? Because she started doing 40 people a day when she started, and that's what got her to here now. And if she stops doing that, it implodes going forward. There's too many people in the business that do a couple of things and it works, and then they stop doing the things that worked. And it's because they get busy and they forget that this is a non-negotiable habit. And so where do you start with that? Depending on, you guys that have been in the business less than 5 years. I've seen too many people, too many team leaders, too many things go on where they project these big things, which is time block for an hour and a half, make 100 calls, write 50 letters, send out 50 emails, right? You don't even have the habit of sending one yet. And until you have the habit of sending one, and it's a mindless activity that you do no matter what, it's not going to happen. You're never going to do 10. You're never going to do 50 until you create the habit. And once you've created one habit, then it's called habit stacking. You go on to what's the next habit. Now that I got this one down, so let me give you some ideas, okay? My morning routine. There were some things I wanted to change in my morning routine. Now, some people are like, meditation's great, and journaling's great, and all this stuff, right? If you've never done it, you're going to get bored of it. Or there's going to be an email or a text message or whatnot, so you have to be super intentional. So at the beginning of the year, it wasn't a resolution. It wasn't, it was the only desire I have this year is to create habits. That's it. Until it just happens. I don't have to think about it. It's kind of like brushing your teeth. It's kind of like the other day I'm driving to the gym, muscle memory tells me to turn here. I don't have to think about it. I just know. And that usually screws me up when I'm going to an appointment because I'm like, that's the way to the gym. So I turn there and I'm like, crap, wrong turn. So it's muscle memory, right? And once you start to create that muscle memory, like right now, the gym, it's been 45 straight workouts. Now my body's starting to be trained that I'm up at 3:30, I'm at my desk by 4, and I do the same regimen every morning, but I'm forcing myself to do it. Every morning I walk out to the kitchen, I make this little protein drink, I take my vitamins, take my protein drink back to my office, I sit down. I have a devotional I read, I do my prayer, and I'll tell you about kind of environment in a second. And for 5 to 10 minutes, it's not an hour on my knees, it's 5 to 10 minutes of focus, just like what's there. And then I use an app called Headspace. Headspace is a great meditation app. They do clarity, they do all happiness, they do all kinds of different things. I have I think today was a 34-day streak that I haven't missed. So it's a must do. And it's still, I have to force, even the days where I got up late, where my body clock didn't go off, I still go back and make sure that I do that routine because I've got to get it done. And then I journal for 10 minutes. Here's the thing about journaling. And Headspace too, you want to start with 5 minutes. They've got 5, 10, 15, 20. I still am not doing 15 or 20. I get too restless and my brain's like, squirrel, wait, come back. And then you're all over the place. So journaling, you write. It's a brain dumping. Write how your day was before, how you're feeling now. There's some days I might write one sentence because then I'm like, I'm out of things, right? I'm good. It's okay, but guess what? The habit is in my journal is that there's a date and there's something written every day for the last 34 days. So it's creating those little habits of making sure. So this morning routine is good. Right? And it's still there. I still have to force myself to do it, but eventually I want it to be something it's not a mental gymnastics thing. I'm not forcing myself to do it. It just happens. I've been training myself in a lot of different things, like stupid things. Car keys go in the right pocket. Why? Because I get tired of dropping my coffee when I get to the front door and try to unlock the office door. So I know where they are. I'm not searching around, digging, I'm not fumbling over things. But I mentally have to tell myself every morning when I grab for my keys. So what I start doing is you start taking things like I put my keys on the right side of my bathroom sink. Mentally, it goes from here to here rather than having to cross over. You don't think about it. Really random. I hate it during the winter that my legs are all dry, my arms are dry, so now it's like habit. 3 pumps, legs, 2 pumps, arms. Swear to God, like that is how stupid it is. But mentally, when I don't do it, I'm like, shit, I forgot to do this. And so, same thing. I have these hereditary bags under my eyes, and here's where the habits you start to ask, right? It's like when you go to the gym or you do a diet and you've done it for 30 or 45 days, you're like, oh, shit doesn't work, I'm gonna try something different, right? You never give your habit a long enough chance to fix something or make something better, right? And sometimes your habits may not fix, like I'm gonna go back to the bags under my eyes. I started using eye creamer in the morning and night, and I asked my wife last night, I'm like, 45 days, this hasn't done anything. She's like, just keep doing it, right? Because it could take a year for it to make a difference, but maybe my eyes won't look as bad as my dad's did at 60 if I keep doing it. So sometimes we try to form these habits and these goals and we don't see results right away. We're so like right now driven that, you know, and you relate that to real estate. We want things to happen right now, but guess what? The things you do today are not going to produce anything for 30, 60 days down the road. Sometimes it might produce something a year down the road. But if you're not doing those consistent things every day, you're never going to give it a chance to keep you off the roller coaster. So so when I go into the office, I have my hour blocks is usually what I do. By the end of the day, and I'm going to show you my visual, everybody's visual, right? I use a greatness tracker to kind of track things, you know, as far as my phone calls and those types of things. Some days it's a little hard, like between text messages, okay, did I get this, did I get this? But my goal is to make 50 touches a day. And I've changed the word, and sometimes we change the words, it helps. I've changed the word prospecting into my connection time. I'm not prospecting anybody, I'm trying to build relationships with people. What can I do for you? Do you need a referral? How can I help you? Not looking to buy or sell your house. Like, I'm over that. Like, I just don't do that. It's straight up connections. I write 10 handwritten notes every day. Some days I get a little behind and I send them to the front desk girl, here, handwrite these for me. You know, I'll send them via email. But those are habits you get into. You know what? I have old school investors, you know what? They appreciate the notes. And I send a note every time they make a loan, they get a thank you card. Because you want people to feel appreciated, and that's the way you can do it. It takes 2 minutes. Even if your handwriting is as sloppy as mine, you just do it. It's the thought. We've all gotten thank you cards. You're like, oh, that was nice. You know, I don't want to do business with this lender, but they still went through the motion of doing it. It's habit. This is part of my routine. And once you start building up, it's hard when you start, right? You're like, who do I write handwritten notes to 50 times a week? You don't. You start with 5, 1 a day, right? Once you get 1 a day, go to 2.
So what happens if you have like somebody that's you haven't really talked to in like a couple of years, and randomly now you're just sending something and it's just weird?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So we just did a huge database conversion, and I will be honest with you, I have lost touch with my sphere more than once, and it always pisses me off when I go back through because I didn't have the habit. So I'm telling you guys right now, I've had huge successes in this business, some of it by sheer accident. Most of my successes is because of the relationships I have with people. But if I was actually more intentional about keeping in touch with people, I'd actually probably be doing better. But in that case, I'm going through this database conversion. I went through every person in my database. It was 2,500 people, one at a time. Do they still live at that house? Their phone number's still right. And I write a note. I'm like, hey, I suck at keeping in touch. I apologize.
You said that?
Yeah, it's okay. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? They throw my car away and never hear from them?
They're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna go.
What if they call? And that's some of the things you start thinking about. Okay, well, if I go through, how many people, okay, here's a fun goal. Everybody open up your contacts on your phone. I don't know if it'll work the same for Samsung or anything on iPhone. Go to your contacts, scroll all the way to the bottom. One at a time, tell me how many contacts you have in your phone.
1328.
1328.
384.
Okay.
558, but I did just clean out a whole bunch of things.
Okay.
1,304.
Okay.
I don't know who these people are.
Right. Okay. Now, if you ask the same question, how many people are in your database or your CRM?
Not the same.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Probably.
this is one.
300.
Okay. So this is one of those little habits. Why can't you text one person a day out of your database?
Let's say what? Who are you? I mean, I have names. But
Think of something. It's okay. Like, people like humor. It's pretty funny when you text somebody and they're like, who is this? I'm like, oh, it's Steve, but I don't know how we met. Do you remember? Because I either want to delete you or keep you. Let me know. I mean, we so overthink that habit of what's going to happen. Yeah, I'm probably going to get a FU text every now and again. That's okay. We just screenshot those and put them on IG story.
I've gotten over the unsubscribe thing because I'm like, well, I don't want to email you either. I only want people in there that
Right.
I'm going to email.
Yep.
I'm over it.
And everybody's got a different, I think the big teams have a different theory on that it's like an unsubscribe is kind of a dead lead, but a new agent comes in and like, well, this person has a phone number, go call these people, they unsubscribed, and go see if you can rekindle. For me, I don't want the junk. Like, I'm honestly never going to do anything with that person. If you didn't want to hear from me, then I don't want to talk to you. Now, it may be a lame way to look at it, but again, going back to it, it's database, right? I will tell you, for those of you who've been in a year or less or 5 years or less, your focus, which is free focus, is to be on that database, 100%. Like, do not lose touch with them. Like, it's got to be part of that connection time in the morning. Call 5 past clients, text past 5 past clients, whatever it is. Just keep in touch with people. I'll give you a great thing that I did this year where it's a new habit that I've been creating, is just looking at social can be a distraction or it can be a habitual business thing if you're going to do it intentional. So I've had a couple of people that have commented on some posts, and I'm like, oh, I lost touch with them 4 years ago. But I did sell them a house, super nice family. I'm sure they don't hate me. So he responded to one of my posts. I private messaged him. I said, hey, I was driving through your neighborhood the other day and I was thinking about you, and then your name popped up. So cool. Hope the family's doing well. Is there anything I can do for you? Oh, it's so great. We love you. We're so appreciative of what you did for us. I haven't talked to this person in 4 years. He's like, is there anything I can do for you? I'm like, actually, there is. Can I share my goals with you this year? So I shared with him. I said, my goal is to help 100 people become homeowners or first-time investors this year. Will you commit to giving me 1 referral this year and keeping me top of mind? That was it. He texts back, absolutely, I'll make sure it happens. Thank you. Now my text message next month. Hey, where's that referral you promised me? Right? You can have fun with it. You know, for you guys that are new in the business, I remember being scared to death of those contacts and having fun with people. Like I said, everything's got to be about having fun. If you can't have a fun relationship with somebody on the phone, over text, over whatever, it's not going to work. Like, honestly, people love humor. I mean, you could send somebody the middle finger on a text message and see what happens. Like, they're either going to laugh about it or they're not. I mean, I got some jokes with some pretty wealthy people that they're pretty funny. We go back and forth on stuff. Just like a reminder, I was thinking about you today. I mean, obviously you got to judge the personality you're dealing with. I'm not sending the middle finger to my pastor that bought a house, right? He might find it funny, but it's just those little things. So when you're thinking about connection time, you can text 5 people something funny. You can engage with people, but you have to build those habits, because the habits of connection are going to be the key 100% to your success. No matter how long you've been in business. If you're not connecting with people, if you don't have the small habits now when you're new in the business to keep in touch and keep connected, you're going to be chasing new people, which is 10 times harder to get them to do business with you than the people that have already done business with you or the people that already know, like, and trust you. So don't lose connection. Build that habit right now to never lose connection, right? We do the goals versus habits. You're building habits that will help you get to your goals. Okay? No matter what goal I set, right? If I set to build 100 new homeowners or 100 new investors this year, if I don't have the habits laid down to do my handwritten notes, my text messages, those types of things, I'm never going to reach that goal because I'm not committed to my habit and why I'm doing that habit. Just like when I lost it when I was doing my workout. I was committed to it. I was committed to the outcome. I was not committed to the habit that would create something greater, right? My arms would be 3 times the size had I stayed with my commitment the last 9 months. And guess what happens? You kick yourself a lot. What if I would have? So nobody in this room should be sitting in the same chair next year going, I wished I would have. Right? That's what we want to avoid. I wished I would have wrote those 10 handwritten notes for 30 days last month. I wished I would have done 2 open houses a month and did really well with it. And he mentions in the book how many people love doing open houses. Right? All right. Well, you're better than some.
I do. It's the only thing I get business.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a habit though. So he talks about people that haven't been to the gym. He talks about a friend of his. He says he had no goal to lose weight, but he said, I'm gonna go to the gym. I need to lose weight. I don't like to go to the gym. The guy literally for the first 30 days put his workout outfit on, went to the gym for 5 minutes, did 1 exercise and left. He's like, hey, I'm here, I'm kind of enjoying this. And then it was 10, then it was 15. The guy 2 years later, because of the little micro commitments, he did lose 100 pounds, right? He started to enjoy what he was doing. He started to have fun. So you have to look at everything in your life. What are the little micro commitments that if you do for a long enough period of time are going to make remarkable changes in your life? Because we don't want everything in our life being outcome driven. I want to be, is anybody ever like, I want to be consistent, right? And habits build consistency. And people build around your consistency. The longest standing appointment I have that I'm consistent at, if anybody wanted to shoot me or come beat me up, they would find me at LA Fitness at 55th Avenue and Bell Road from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. and the Starbucks afterwards every Tuesday and Thursday because I've been doing it for 9 years. Play racquetball every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 a.m. with the same guy. It's the most consistent appointment I've ever had. But it took a long time to build that. Like I know, my office knows, my staff knows, my clients know. That's where I'm at. You won't ever get an appointment, you won't get a return call, and I'm completely unavailable on that time. So it's learning to make those little micro commitments so that it builds over time to be something that is truly consistent and you never get away from. So this is typically what happens when, it's called the habit cycle here. The cue is something that triggers you, right? So the cue, the craving, the response, the reward. So when I look at like my car keys, the cue, when I take my car keys out of the pocket, I'm trying to figure out how to set it up so I put them in a specific place every time. So I'm not looking for them. I know where they are and I know where they're going to go. The craving is actually the craving to not drop my crap when I get to the office door. That's why I'm doing it. The response is I pick it up. The reward is I'm not looking for them when I get there. Same thing with my eyes. Every day I look in the mirror in my eyes, the cue is look at the bags under my eyes. The reward that I'm trying to get to is by not having bags. So I have to do those things to create that ultimate habit and what I want to do. So the habits go to everything you do in life. So little things. My habit every morning, because I'm usually gone when my kids go to school, I text both of my boys every morning. I didn't used to, but I wanted to make sure that it was a consistent habit with my boys. They're 15 and 17. They're soon to be on their own doing their thing. They're a lot of fun, and I miss them. And once your kids start driving, they're like gone. You never see them. But those are some of those things. So let's talk about visual cues and environment. Who works at home? Okay. Do you have a specific place that you work at home or an office or anything like that? Or do you just work at the kitchen table?
I'm usually in my office, but I do work from the kitchen table actually a lot.
Okay. So they really talk about the cues of your environment and changing your environment. So I'll give you a great example. I share an office at home with my wife. My wife doesn't really go in that office, so it's more of like a hoarding station. So my desk sat facing her bookshelf and the thing she calls a desk that has all this junk on it. She tends to work from the kitchen counter, but I had this metal wall behind me that I really like. And, I started reading the book and he's like, change your environment. If you're in an environment that's not mentally clear, change it. So I went home and I looked at it and I'm like, okay, I don't like what I'm looking at because it distracts me when I'm writing, when I'm thinking, when I'm doing my social posting. So I flipped my desk around. I'm like, I never wanted to face the wall because I like the window. But I faced the wall, and do any of you guys do vision boards or have done a vision board? You like your vision board?
Yeah.
Okay. So the vision board, what I did, and I think sometimes we look at it and we try to make things too pretty. I'm like, okay, I don't care how unpretty this is. I started going through my phone thinking about the vision, and there was two things for it. One was kind of my prayer wall, like who are the people in my life? What are the things that I'm really thinking about this year that I want to be clear on? And two, what are some of the dreams and goals I have? Because those are the things that remind you of why you're doing those little habits. So I just got on my phone and I started printing pictures off. And I got roll tape out. Now there's just a bunch of random pictures on that wall. But every time I sit in that office at 4 a.m., that's my visual reminder of the things that I'm doing each day and why I'm doing them. Why I'm creating those habits, why I'm going through my health regimen, why I'm doing all those things. Because the goals are to get to the body fat that I want to. The goals are to look better. The goals are to be healthier. The goals are to be around longer than my dad was, who passed at 63, right? 20 years from when my dad passed. I want to be around a lot longer than that. So those are all the things. I've got pictures of cars that I want. I've got pictures of money in the bank that I want. So there are all those things that are just visual reminders. And I also have pictures of my wife, my kids, my team, the people, like I said, that are most important in my life that I'm keeping in my prayers on a daily basis. So it's a great focus wall. So if you have something in your environment that's distracting you, either take it out or change it so that you have that visual, successful environment that is keeping you focused. You know, there's also a bunch of random quotes up there, you know, like the two words, wish, do. The word wish is crossed out because a lot of times we get paralyzed and we don't do. We wish we were doing it, but we don't, right? So he calls it paperclip theory. I call it house key theory. So all of my agents, including myself and my CFO and my front desk girl, they all have these jars on their desk. And their goal each day is how many keys can they move from one jar to the next. I figured we're in the real estate business. House key would be a good symbol. So my jar starts out with 50 house keys every morning. And my goal before I leave the office is that 50 keys have to go from one jar to the next, and until they're empty, I can't go. So it forces you to think about the touches. So if I get a referral from somebody, that's a key. If I send out a handwritten note, that's a key. These are all the touches. I had a phone call with a client. I went on a listing appointment. I had a call from an agent that wants to do a cash sale and make that happen. That's another one. So at the end of the week, even on Saturday and Sunday, I try to get my keys in. How many touches is that? Right? So the visual keeps you focused and it doesn't let you lose sight of things during the day, because you know at the end of the day, if all your keys aren't moved, it's not really a win, is it? You can say it's a win. I did half of them. But it's your habit to really create that 50 touches a day. And what does that 50 touches a day do 30, 60, 90 days from now? What does it do a year from now? What it does in a year from now is it's created a habit. And eventually, filling up that key jar is fun, and you want some more keys, right? Because how many people can you touch during the day? How many events can you go to? How many people can you meet? What's the goal when you go to a networking event? Don't try to add 5 people to your database. The goal is to go create 5 new relationships. So if somebody is not seeking you out or having a good conversation with you where they're willing to give you their card or willing to say, hey, can we connect? It's not a relationship. That's not the start of a relationship, right? You have to, when we were kids, we weren't texting. we were calling on the phone and the teen line with the 50-foot cord on it. You have to reach out to establish those relationships. And you have to do it genuinely. Create the habit of having genuine phone conversations. Who has really good habits right now? Who's been doing something really consistent for a year? Kinda? What is it?
I post on Marketplace.
Okay.
Facebook.
Okay. So let's talk about, it's a good segue, let's talk about social habits. Who's got good social habits when they're posting or they're creating?
So during the holidays, when people are just wishing everybody happy holidays and stuff, oh, you know, after the first of the year, we'll get together. After the first of the year, well, so I have a list of like 9 people. And so now I'm going through and I'm like, hey, let's set that happy hour date. Let's set that. And they're more than willing. They're like, oh, yeah, we said we were going to get together. So just kind of making that commitment and not just having it be, like you said, like a false, encounter.
Right.
But I mean, I checked in here, took a selfie, and just said, something about, I think a lot of my followers are, wow, she's still doing it. It's been 8 months, that's awesome, she's still doing it. And I always say, learning more about real estate, ask me any questions.
Right.
And I've been getting people kind of Facebook messaging me, hey, I'm paying $1,400 for rent. I'm tired of it. What can I do? And, I just tell them how to get started. And so I have a lot of first-time home buyers, but it just takes work. Yep. So next year, they'll be ready next year.
Right, but if you're doing those things that we're talking about consistently, getting those people, okay, so you've had a messenger, you've had a text message with them, how do you get them into the database so that you don't lose them, right? That's got to be the focus when you get from text messaging to Facebook to Instagram. You got to get them from point A to point B because you'll lose them. You'll forget about them, and it's having them be able to communicate. Like you're doing that dating thing over the messenger, right? And once you've created that, kind of like what you talked about, what about if you lost touch with somebody? Good, start a conversation with them. Don't dive into, I'm still in real estate, you need anything? You gotta establish connection, and then once you have connection after 3 or 4 text messages, then you can dwindle in a little bit. And then it's, hey, do you have an updated email or anything that I need to know about? Love to keep in touch, better than I did the last time. It's just making those little touches, because the word on the street is that everybody we know knows 12 real estate agents, right? And that's the truth. I met with a couple last night. We all went to the same church. I've known him since I was 6. And he's like, it was really hard because we know about 10 agents, but we really would rather work with you just because we've known you for so long. That was just relationship. Again, somebody I lost touch with but randomly called and reached out. So how many of you have a habit on social? And I'm not talking about scrolling. I'm talking about being intentional on it.
Posting.
Do you guys have consistent posting?
I have postings.
No.
I don't have every day at this hour or every, twice a week at this time.
How many?
It's more like random.
How many of you struggle with what to post? Okay.
I feel like my clientele isn't on social media, so I don't.
What is your clientele? What's your avatar?
My clientele is people with distress situations.
Okay.
So,
I'm going to debunk that right now.
Distressed.
I am.
Yeah. Where do you think I get my business from?
You probably the same places that I do.
No. It's all from social. From social and real estate agents.
Alright.
Last month, 5 My Home Group agents brought me 5 deals that I bought.
Send me your deals.
No, I don't even say send me your deals.
Yeah.
What I speak has nothing about sending me your deals. What I speak is about creating solutions for people, and the agents reach out to me. I have 4 appointments this week that are real estate agents trying to solve a problem for their seller. And they know what I spoke about, and what I've been consistent in my messaging and Instagram and Facebook, they know that I can figure something out. The seller may not like it, but I can solve anything you throw at me.
Yeah.
And it might be super silly, but you're absolutely, the distress are there.
Yeah.
And if it's not the distress, it's somebody that knows somebody distressed.
Right.
Or it's a real estate agent in my home group that's like, oh, you can pay cash for it. Are you wholesaling everything? Is that what you're doing right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Legal, so.
So let me give you a little help on this. It took me a while to figure this out. If you want me to send you spam, you can text that number. Actually, I do some different real estate tips and things for real estate agents. Speaking of that, we'll also add you to, does anybody live on the west side over here?
Levine.
Huh? Moving?
I said Levine.
Living?
No,
Levine.
Levine.
All right, well, you're on the west side.
It's on the west side.
Well, anyway, because I live on the west side and it was so hard for me to get to any of the ASRIA, Phoenix RIA, or the real estate disruptor meetups, I live in Peoria, and at the end of the day at 5 o'clock, driving over here sucks. And then driving back sucks. It's like 4 hours out of my week when it happens. So if you're interested, we'll keep you apprised of it. WIN, which is Westside Investor Network, it's a free thing. It's not charged like everybody else's is. It kicks off March 31st, 5:30 to 7:30. And so we'll do a market update every month, and then we're going to have keynote speakers and all kinds of fun stuff going on there. So trying to just add value to people when it comes down to it. So, hold on, I'm going to steal something from Kelly real quick. Okay. If you guys want to get really clear on your messaging and be really consistent, because consistency, again, we're talking about creating habits, right? Does anybody want to play this game? You want to play?
Sure.
Okay. Give me 5 things that are either your passion, what you do for a living, if it's your kids. Give me 5 things.
My kids.
Okay?
Education.
So you're...
Momming.
Okay. So you're a mompreneur, right?
Yep.
I'm not even going to try to spell it. You're a mompron. Okay. Right? What else?
What else did I just say? Education.
In what fashion?
Well, I spent my career in education prior to real estate.
Okay,
So
teachers.
I was a teacher.
Okay.
Bringing that kind of into real estate.
Okay. What else?
Nature, backpacking.
Okay. Outdoors. What else?
I feel like everything else I would say fits in those categories. I like,
Okay. Well, I'm going to write kids
personal
up here.
growth, I guess. Is
Okay.
something.
Personal growth. Who would you say your ideal client is? We call it avatar, which means is who is your messaging to, right?
I struggle with this.
Okay.
Because I feel like my ideal client, if we're talking about that, is very different than who I'm kind of.
Well, break down. What's your ideal client?
So my ideal client is typically your male businessman who wants somebody to handle a transaction. They're moving up into like a higher price range.
Who starts that transaction? Their wife.
Their wives.
Uh-huh. Who starts the move up?
So maybe it's the moms that I like, but
The moms, the ladies, your avatar is the person that is married that has kids, that has the husband, that she's going to talk their ear off because she saw something you posted. Go ahead.
That is not how it usually works for me.
The men reach out to you?
And I'm
But
not,
what do you-
I'm not talking, so, single men often reach out. I mean, I'm not trying to be
No, it's fine.
weird.
No.
But
Don't be, it's not weird. Just talk through it.
Welcome
Yes.
to my life.
I say that I'm single, and oftentimes it's single men who are reaching out, and I'm like, hey, how can I help? I don't want to date you, but I will definitely help you with real
Right.
estate. They
That's
just
a
want to
great
spend time with me.
That's
and
a great
so
response.
we buy and sell houses.
Right? But, I mean, if you want to get to your ideal client, and what I'm doing here is, now if you take whatever you want this to be, so you got to think about who your target is. So mine's a 30 to 50-year-old male, right? And the reason I say that, not that I, debunk females, but I'm speaking to men because I'm a class clown with my kids. I make the biggest messes in my kitchen. We do off-roading, we break stuff, we blow things up, and I want to be a really good dad. I also have the house in the neighborhood that there are 20 kids, there are 20 teachers in my house every day I come home from school. They're all there. That's where they hang out. That's where I wanted my house to be. But I am constantly screwing around with those kids. Always. But I want dads to see, like, you can be a professional and you can be a class clown, and it doesn't change who you are. Right? So, point being is that that's my avatar, that's who I'm speaking to. It's not that the women won't see that and go, oh, this guy's a really good dad, or show a husband, this guy's really funny, you should follow him. That's kind of the point. But my message has to be clear on what I'm doing. Right? Because if you're not clear, then you're all over the place and nobody knows what the hell you do.
Yeah.
But,
And that's where I'm at right now, to be frank.
right, so if you're talking about the joys of being, I mean, you can teach you a couple of things here. You'd be teaching to encouraging single mom entrepreneurs that are raising kids. My sister-in-law, she's, her book came out called No Place Like Known, like Know You Who You Are. She's all about moms chasing their kids and chasing their dreams and not having to pick. Right? That's her passion. Like, she wants women entrepreneurs to go after their stuff. And it doesn't mean they can't raise their kids. So you're talking to people. So you take these subjects and you figure out, oh, I could write about what it's like to have kids and show homes. I can talk about what it's like to make sure they're picked up from school. So you start thinking about topics you can write about. Don't think about pictures and what goes with it. Start thinking about what you can write about, right? And again, we're talking about habits. So if you can get into this habit of doing this once a week and going, okay, don't do it all at once. Pick one topic, write about it. It doesn't have to be great. Don't worry, mine aren't either. And I used to stress about them now. My CFO used to be a writer, so she'll read it and she'll be like, your punctuation, like, it just is what it is. It's on the fly. Right? You speak to teachers. You do it in story. Great book as you're doing this. When you do your post, if anybody saw the post that I did about when, I wrote it in story form as if it happened. Because I was visualizing what I wanted to see. I put the date on there, I put the amount of people, I put what it felt like outside because I wanted people to be in my shoes when they read it. Okay? A couple of people didn't get it. They're like, hey, this date hasn't happened. I'm like, no, read the whole post and you'll figure it out. But, book, Story Branding by Donald Miller. Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. You can talk about teacher, you can talk about your experience as a teacher, you can talk about, I remember how hard it was being a teacher or being a single mom and a teacher, right? You can talk about outdoors, favorite places that I like to go outdoors, right? Kids, something fun about your kids. Mine's usually how much water I got on the floor. Personal growth. Personal growth ties back to over here, right? So you're speaking to all these people. It doesn't always have to be about real estate. You can tie some of it in through story, but what you're trying to do is connect with people and they're trying to connect with you. And you also, how long you been in the business?
Just less than a year.
Okay. I want you to think about this. This is what my sister-in-law did, and I loved it when she spoke at her mastermind. Her and my brother were flat-ass broke 5 years ago, and Last month, they just closed on a $3 million house in Hawaii. And my brother was 100 pounds overweight. He lost 100 pounds, and they were doing this health coaching business. And they blew it up ridiculous. But her deal was they used to go over to Hawaii 4 years ago to visit. And she found this picture of the sunset. And she put it in her office in her teaching studio when she does her online coaching. And that sunset sat there forever. It was always in her teaching. She was taking these women on a journey. Like, this is my dream, right? This is what I'm working towards. This is what I see. Then when she would go there and she would do her stories, she would do her posts, she wore an 808 hat, which is the zip code, or the area code in Maui. She took a lot of those women on a journey through her entrepreneurship, through her successes, sharing with them what it could be. And you have the same ability to do that in your real estate career. You're taking the new people, the people that have lost their faith in doing this business, and you're taking them on a journey, what it's like. And you can do it through all these things and sprinkling in some of your entrepreneurship. So you're finding that connection and you're taking them on a journey. So many people are so afraid to be vulnerable. Like, it's been a hard year, single mom, real estate is really hard. These are the things I've encountered, right? You don't want to say that because you're afraid somebody won't do business with you.
Yeah. But
You'd actually be shocked at the connection you have with people, because there's a lot of other people experiencing that. In 2008, when we lost everything, I was very vulnerable on a broker agent magazine. I'd come from being on one of the top realty executives team to being completely broke. And I shared my story in that magazine in hopes it would encourage everybody else that I had already gone through it and it'll be all right. And I got more exposure from doing that article because I was vulnerable than you do from keeping it inside. Because if everybody thinks you're successful, it doesn't always equate. So these are the ways that I go through in my social posting, creating my habits. This is how, I have topics that I do, like things that I'm promoting to real estate agents. I'm talking to real estate agents, I'm talking to investors, so all my messaging is around it. I'm talking to dads. So this is something that I try to do on Sunday. I'm still trying to create this habit myself. Sometimes it's very hard. But what you don't want to get in the habit of is your social is something that is creating audience. And believe it or not, so many of us focus on likes and comments. There's a zillion more people watching you than you know. I get more people reaching out saying, hey, I've been following you for about a year, you're super inspirational, can you help me with this? What does this look like? So people, again, habit. If I hadn't been doing that for the year, where would I be with that person? So use this as a connection. This is building relationship right here. Remember, relationships are the most powerful thing in real estate. And you can build a lot of relationship as long as you don't chase the squirrels on the scroll screen, especially TikTok. My office found that TikTok is super entertaining, and I'm like, oh, geez, stop it. Somebody sent me one last night, and I'm like, I just lost 15 minutes of my life. Knock it off. But I will tell you, you don't have to get anxiety over this habit of, I need to create something for this, something for this, something for this. You create one thing and you spread it across all platforms, right? You have different audiences and different platforms. You never know who it's going to connect. And keep this in mind, you have no idea who's going to see it in different algorithms. Yeah?
Could you explain that a little bit further? I'm really stupid at social media when you say create it for all platforms.
Oh, you'd be awesome at TikTok.
For real, actually,
Sounds like just what I need.
No, seriously.
Another 15 minutes wasted.
No,
great.
Depending on...
Oh boy!
Someone get it.
Thanks, Steve. I'll look it up right now.
It'll make you smile. Like you're in a bad mood, go watch TikTok.
I'm writing that one down.
It's with a K, not a CK.
Yes, there you go.
Yep. So here's
T-O-K. Okay,
Yep.
got it. Is it .com?
no, it's just TikTok. It's an app. So it's thing, and don't do the social. What social are you on right now?
I don't do it.
You don't do Facebook or anything?
No, I'm really stupid at it. I've tried to learn a little bit about it, and then I get distracted and go do something else.
So have fun with it.
It's not fun.
What?
I hate writing, okay? It takes me like,
Don't write. Just start posting pictures. Do lots of selfies. Like, find the right angle. Do all the stuff that the girls do. I get yelled at every time for not taking the right angle. The light lighting. I'm like, it's a picture. Get over it. So just to finish this up, across all platforms means that if you're on certain platforms, like for me, it goes across from Facebook to Instagram to YouTube. Those are the ones. I'm not on Snapchat. I'm not on TikTok yet, but I will be. It's just like, because what happens is we get overwhelmed with all of it. Don't get overwhelmed. If you're not doing it right now, pick one. You younger guys, gals, Instagram is more reaction where I'm getting on stuff. TikTok is probably really good for you. TikTok has a ridiculous algorithm when it comes down to putting you in front of people. And TikTok is not just about doing stupid videos, right? You can post normal videos on it, and you're randomly going to be seen. So the reason I said all this is that if you'll get into the habit of using your social to create relationships rather than allowing it to distract you, and you get really consistent with this habit, you'll have a very large payoff when it comes down the road. You know, to what you said, had I not been posting about the houses I bought, the things that I've done, the things that I do, nobody would reach out to what I'm doing. And I talk about the sellers that I'm helping, what we're doing. I did one on Sunday. I'm trading houses like baseball cards right now. I got 3 people that want to trade this house for that house. How do you do that? It's fun.
Yeah.
It's moving pieces. And so if somebody doesn't know, how are they going to know to contact me? You know, so, and it doesn't mean just because you posted it once, doesn't mean you can't post it again down the road. How many of you guys do stories or consistent on your stories? Get consistent on your stories.
That will help your algorithm.
Stories, you know, guys. And again, we're talking about habits, and my time's almost up.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Quick question. How do you do the trading homes? Like that company that buys?
Oh no, I trade them.
What do you mean? So you, okay.
So you got a house,
Yeah.
but you want my house? I'll trade you my house for yours. There's more to it than that.
You
but-
have that many homes?
I do.
Actually, I do.
Where was I? Stories.
So I struggle with the consistency, and I love the idea because I always feel weird, like I feel like I'm
Like you're all over the place, right?
Yes, and but also like you know when I have a bad day, I'm like I don't really want to get on a story and pretend to be like. So I appreciate this like be authentic.
Today sucks. My kid threw up on me in the car. I have shit on my shirt, and tomorrow's gonna be better.
Go through your pictures. Did you take pictures? Just go through them. And
Story.
Well, but that's the thing.
Story doesn't have to happen in real time.
Trying to make it perfect
Don't.
makes me.
Don't. Do you want to see the story I did last night? Go check out my story from today. I sat in my office with my wool hooded and my baseball cap. I had just gotten out of the shower, just going. Nobody wants you to be perfect. That's the thing. I have spent the last 3 years in a mastermind in California around some of the biggest influencers on Instagram and Facebook, and guess what? They're flat out just real people, especially on their stories. We spend too much time trying to be perfect. I don't expect anybody to be perfect. I don't. It's just something you have to get over and go do.
I don't expect it from other people. Just
Right, but that's because we're so hard and we're so judgmental of our own selves that we're afraid that somebody won't do business with us because, well, this guy's over here like hosing down his kids in the kitchen. Why would I do business with him? What, we have, you know, on Tuesday, one of my kids' friends, he's just a smart ass. And so we have mirrored sinks in our kitchen in the island, and we did 1, 2, 3 draw with the faucets. He lost. And there's water everywhere. It just happens. It's just what we do. My wife is okay with it as long. The only rule is don't break anything and clean up.
I was gonna say.
Right. But yeah, stories. So I started this a couple of days ago. You know why? It gives me really consistent. You know, when people start seeing you're consistent, they start like, oh, what's he doing, right? So I just posted, you know, I do my Jesus calling devotion, what it said, I make a little comment on it, and then I post my streak from Headspace. Those are 2 things, and guess what? It's just keeping the streak going. And guess what? You don't have to have pictures from today. You can do blast from the past pictures. You can do like, this day really sucked 2 years ago. Like, look at my kids, they're hideous today. Just make stuff up. Don't, again, you're overthinking rather than just grabbing something and going, I'm gonna post that. I'm going to take that and make something funny out of it. You should do a TikTok, like.
Yeah, okay. Later
I feel
today.
like your first post should
If
be
I
about
could
OnlyFans.
figure out how TikTok worked right now, I would do a TikTok with you. We'd do like some rap battle or something.
I'd pay to see that.
Well, I didn't take you up on that.
Right? All right, you guys have any questions?
Yeah, can I just follow you around for a couple days and write stuff down?
Just follow me on stories.
I could do
You
that.
see everything I do during the day on stories. That's it. Here's what I do.
Yeah.
Here's listing. What's hard about stories with the stuff that I do is you get people that are like family friends and they're clients, and I went to appointment on the way here and I walked out going, I can't even post this because people know who these people are, and the house is like, I wouldn't even want my kids stepping in there. And she's walking around telling me about her laundry and this. I'm like, are you serious? Like, there's 95 holes in the door. And it's so sad to see people. I'm like, I can't even talk about this because they're following me on social media. So you have to learn when to shut your mouth too, right? So, all right, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, and make sure you get Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
Read it. Get a TikTok guide. Okay, my phone has a died. I wish I could project up here. We're gonna show her TikTok.